evening, everyone. Welcome to iView World Human Rights Film Festival 2020, to one of our most outstanding panels that we have been able to curate for this year as part of our Vital Voices Now series. We are thrilled to have with us really a reunion of sorts after 30 long years. We have the wonderful Mira Nair with us. Mira Nair really doesn't need an introduction. Actually, no one on this panel needs an introduction. But I wanted to start with Mira, who is, of course, an Indian American filmmaker who's based in New York City and has specialized in films for international audiences on Indian society, whether in the economic, social, or cultural spheres. Um, she's so well known for all of her films, but Mississippi Masala was a landmark film. Kama Sutra, The Namesake, Monsoon Wedding, Salam Bombay. The list is endless. So, Mira, would you join us?
Yes, I can. Hello,
Yes,
everyone. Lovely to see
there
you,
you are.
Mina, and lovely to be back with the iView since its
Yes,
inception, in fact.
yes,
So,
absolutely. You are. There's no iView that's complete without you, Mira. You know, we had to have you. Um, I'm just going to go in the order that the names are showing up in front of me. So the next person that I'm going to ask to join us is the legendary Sharmila Tagore. Sharmila ji is one of our best known actresses in the history of Indian cinema. She made an acting debut at the age of 14 with Satyajit Ray's acclaimed Opu Shongshar, and then went on to make numerous films, some of my favorite films in the pantheon of Indian cinema, Devi, Aurone, Din Ratir, and then, of course, my favorite Hindi films, Kashmir Ki Kali, Waqt, Anupama. I mean, the list is endless. So we are very, very honored to have with us Sharmila Tagore. Tantana. Sharmila ji, will you join us?
Hi,
yes,
Yes, there you
hi,
are.
everyone.
Wonderful.
How nice to be.
um, and I'm going to introduce Sarita. Sarita Choudhary is an English actress best known for her role in Mississippi Masala. That's how, the whole South Asian diaspora, people around the world got to know her. And she went on to make several films with Mira, um, Kama Sutra, um, you know, several films. I know. So, Sarita, will you please join us now?
hello.
Hello.
Hi, all the way from New York, right? Sarita, you're in New
Mm-hmm.
York, you're joining us from there. Wonderful. Um, and I'd like to now ask Sooni
Uh,
Taraporevala, who's an Indian screenwriter, photographer, filmmaker, and was the screenwriter of Mississippi Masala, The Namesake, Salam Bombay, and had a very long association with Mira's films. She's also adapted Rohindran Mistri's novel, Such a Long Journey, and has written films Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And recently, I was completely blown by her film Ye Ballet, which is on Netflix and streaming. Suni, would you join us?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Suni.
Hi.
Good to have you with us. Um,
Thank you.
finally, Asim Chabra, who is a programming consultant with iView World 2020 and a dear friend of mine, is going to be moderating the panel today. Asim, please join us.
Hi, thank you, Maina, and hello, everyone. This is
hello,
wonderful.
Hi,
Hello.
Naseem.
Asim.
This is just,
So,
besides moderating, I'm going to be taking photographs. It's such an iconic collection of people here, really. So, can I
and
start, Maina?
all friends. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Please. Floor is
So
yours.
I actually I watched Mississippi Masala today, and I think I saw it when it was released in 1991. I even remember where I saw it at the Carnegie Hall used to have a basement theater on 7th Avenue and 57th Street. I remember seeing it there. Uh, and I must have seen it again, but it's been a long while. I've seen it for a while, and it's not been streaming also. Um, I I know there's so many wonderful voices here. I really want to start from where the film started, really, and I think both Mira and Sooni can jump in, really. I remember Mira once told me that you and Sooni actually took a road trip all the way to the south,
Yeah.
and I was wondering how that idea also triggered up after you'd done Salam Bombay. Where did the idea come from? Let's explore Indians in a very unlikely place. Indians, of course, in Uganda, but also Indians running motels in the south, most of South. So, you guys want to talk about it, the experience?
Sure.
Mira.
I'll go first. This one. The idea came really, the style of thinking about these things came from the study initially of cinema verite, of documentary, real truth cinema that I was studying at Harvard, where Sooni and I were close friends. Um, and and so that was the style that also finally informed Salam Bombay in many ways, in the, seeing a reality of a situation, making a story about it, filming it in the reality. And that was the style that also informed Mississippi Masala. In that we did, at least I would say, a, a year and a half of social science research, you could call it, where first reading about the Asian expulsion in Uganda, from Uganda. I remember reading Jane Kramer's a wonderful article in the New Yorker about a family who had come from Uganda to England and starting up a newsstand, and that was one of the first things. Anyway, I was also reading, asking my friends to get me books that Mahmood, my husband, has written. He wasn't my husband then, I didn't know him. He, from Uganda, he had written a book about being expelled from citizen to refugee, it was called. So I was reading about these things, and also reading India Abroad, where this newspaper that we used to have, that we still have in America, and about Ugandan Asian exiles coming to all places of Mississippi, where it was called dirt poor, so that they could buy their businesses very cheaply and conduct them without much knowledge of English, and with using their own families to work. And all these different alliances were very interesting in terms of a story, and I asked Sooni, and it was great. Then we both went with Mitch, right, Sooni,
Mhm.
to around the south, and spent I don't know, some weeks, or I don't know how long, in different motels, just living there and getting to understand the reality, and then finally went to Uganda to understand the dream of this place that people had left and still held on to so powerfully. Then that was 1989, and all of this, Sooni took and made into a screenplay that we then, went to the film with. So that was how the inception was. And yeah, my
So,
city.
do you want to step in?
Yeah, sure. So I think Mira was working on this before I came on. And I think she was always more interested in the Ugandan exile and had read a lot about it. For me, I came to it from a different direction. I had a very close friend um, who's Indian and who was actually very dark complexion, who was in love with a black man. And at that time, it was very, very rare. In fact, in all our research, we only found one such couple at that time in '89. And so that's where I came. For me, I was always more interested in 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 the love story, in addressing the racism of us Indians, um, and Uganda as bringing in Uganda as a story, as a narrative, but the main story being contemporary Mississippi, and a very contemporary story because we met so many people. the main character that Denzel plays, we met a carpet cleaner in Biloxi Beach, and he was called Demetrius Fields. And we met him only for 15 minutes, but I thought because our story was taking place in motels, this was just so much better than him being a preacher's son, which was the original conception, because it was true to contemporary Mississippi and it tied things in very well. Similarly, we met Mr. Ponda in Uganda, who was actually suing the Ugandan government to get his property back. So, and we had an accident on our first research trip. Uh, our
Meena
first day
has
out, we banged into a car, and Mira and Mitch were dealing with it. I think Mira was hurt. It was whiplash. And I was speaking to the
Oh
guy,
God.
to the tow truck guy. And that's how all the suing came in. So it was very much an organic, as Mira said, taken from the reality that we saw.
yeah.
Oh God! Wow, wow, that's fascinating. And I'll come to the casting, and of course I want to come back to both of you. I'm very interested in how Sarita Choudhary joined in, but I want to come to Sharmila Tagore. Mira, do you want to just give an intro about when you thought of casting the mother? Uh, did you think of anybody else besides Sharmila Tagore, or there was no one else you could think of besides Sharmila Tagore?
I don't think I thought of anyone else, and even if I might have, I'm not going to say it.
About to say the same
I
thing.
did. I didn't, and it was a kind of when we met. I remember very well that meeting. It was I had known you before, but we met in your living room in Delhi, near Prithviraj Road, and then
It's
and
true.
and and then I met also your daughters, and I thought, oh, this is like double battery, I can get mother and daughter, the young Meena. And that was anyway a small part of how we began, but I don't remember anyone else really but Sharmila, and it was extraordinary to have her. I mean, and to have the cast we did, and then I think we came to you first, Sharmila, and then we hadn't cast Gemini yet. We hadn't cast
Yeah.
Roshan yet. So it was the important building block, and then um, and Sarita had been cast, and that
Mm-hmm,
also had to look, that she could be the daughter of
mm-hmm,
Sharmila was very
mm-hmm,
important.
mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
so all that, but it was very harmonious. I remember you just sat on the couch and you read a few of the pages, and we talked about it, and that was pretty much that. And then we, I think, met in Kampala in the house that Mahmood and I had just bought, and we were going to first shoot in it and then live in it. So I remember that so well, Sharmila in my bedroom, it was her makeup room, and stuff like that. But I can tell more. But please,
Yeah.
Sharmila should.
Sharmila ji, we'd love to hear from you. Your memories working at, you've done some remarkable films before this, and of course, you did a lot more work after that. But this sort of was an iconic film at a particular time, and an independent production almost with first, second time direct. He also written one or two scripts only, probably. What was it like? Do you remember?
It truly was iconic, as you say. I remember when Mira got in touch, and as she said that we met in this, this government bungalows kind of place in New Delhi, and Soha was there,
Yes,
and she offered this role, and it probably was that I was thought of first because then there was a long gap, Mira, right?
yes.
That so in meanwhile, poor Soha grew up. We couldn't stop her from growing up. And she was so bitterly disappointed. There she was sort of almost practicing in front of the mirror and all that.
Uh,
But she got
Oh,
out in the film
Oh,
finally. But
I
I
was
think
so
that
sorry.
was what really egged her on. And finally she joined films. So that seed was planted by Mira.
Oh gosh.
Uh, it was lovely. And the first thing Mira said that, listen, I can't pay you very much. So do you want to be part of this or not? I said, well, try and stop me because of course I want to be part of this. And
Oh,
then she told me, gave me the idea of the story, which of course fascinating. and so contemporary and, relevant. And then I remember, Mira, I think we did Greenwood first.
Yes.
And, then we went to
Then
Kampala.
we went to Uganda.
We
Yeah.
went to Greenwood, in a very sleepy town, middle of Memphis and New Orleans,
Jackson. Yeah.
and met so many people there that who'd never been to either city, which is only, what, 2.5 hours away or
Yeah.
something.
What a
It was a very, very interesting place to be there. I mean, besides the, and I really experienced so much, because the white crew stayed in this houses that they were allowed to stay, and we weren't for some reason.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and then we
Hmm.
stayed in this Ramada Inn, which was fantastic because it was a community, all of us staying there with one room each, which was not really very big. But I like my comfort. So I sorted myself out. I got myself a small fridge. I got myself a micro, and then I got myself an ironing board. And with the help of that wonderful driver, uh, and he was also being given a script. So he used to also read the script, and he was so good. So we went to a pawn shop, and from our per diem money, I managed to buy all these things, or get all these things. And then when I left, I sold them, or I don't know what he did with it, but I didn't lose it. I think I made some money on that also. So it was really lovely. And then we went to each other's room, because obviously the room was paid for, but the food, etc., we had to fend for ourselves. So sometimes we went out, but sometimes we cooked at home. I don't know how it was done without any smell. With who was that lady who used to make us this very fragrant rice, and
Chapatis.
the aroma would be all over, and we'd all flock into her room. So we had so
You
much
know,
fun. And the Mohan Gokhale and
Yeah.
Mohan Agashe once had a little spat suddenly in the middle of, having a drink, and then fun things happen. But at shooting, Mira was very tough, and she
Oh,
wouldn't go unless she had the shot she wanted, which was very good. She really got what she wanted, and then, of course, and then it was such a experience for me, because we were called to just be there and just show the camera crew what we were going to do as per
Okay.
Mira's instruction. And then we went away. And then when we came back, nobody spoke except Mira, and if the actors had anything to say, anything to discuss. And that was that. And everybody was on their walkie-talkie, and it was pin drop silence. I mean, it was I'd never seen or experienced anything like that, because we had pigeons on our sets, and just before the clap, everybody would make a sound so that
Allah.
fly
Yeah,
away, and then
this one
start
back.
sound action. So we were used to that kind of thing. It was a wonderful experience, and
Right.
so much more. And the union that looked after you. You signed in, and then you signed off when you left, and the whole democratic atmosphere. There was no hierarchy, stars or whatever. Everybody queuing up. Denzel as well, had the same food. And in fact, when I came back from shooting and having paid the tax there or whatever, I got a little note that we owe you $800 because we didn't pay you for the rehearsals you've done. So I was so amazed that they really look after their actors. They're there looking out for you, which is so wonderful. So there are many wonderful things. There was a flying cockroach and a jumping frog. So this masala was Greenwood was no different as that. And I hate cockroaches. These cockroaches flying in my room, much screaming. Then Mohan Agashe comes and says, I said, no, I want to see the dead body first. Otherwise, I'm not sleeping in that room. So we made, and the friendship carries on. And it was really, really a wonderful experience. And I remember when Sarita had run away, and I on the phone,
Yes.
remember? And Denzel sort of walked in unannounced. And in fact, I was there, and he met me first, and he had this bound uh, script with him. So he said, my agent always gives me these scripts when I come.
In
He
leather.
said, I heard your scene and you were very good. And then I was asking him question, how many children he had. And we had a almost 10 minutes conversation before everybody came and broke us up. So it was a really a fantastic. And Uganda, when they told me that you have to bring a suitcase for your per diem, I thought they were joking. I said, what do you mean? So I didn't take anything, but when they gave my money, actually, because there was only 100 shillings, you know, and a cup of coffee cost you 900 shillings, which was $1. So I had to I slept with 900 shillings under my pillow so that I could wake up and pay because I had we were at the Sheraton Hotel, and our floor was the non-smoking floor. So that was luxury. And otherwise, the house that we shot in, but Mira was talking about, which they finally bought, which was so beautiful, so beautiful. And the whole experience of shooting and learning, about from people around us, particularly in Greenwood, was, where young people drove their cars because they, at 16, they had nothing else to do. There was just one discotheque. Then I went shopping in one little shop, and they were very unwelcoming because I didn't, not the right color, falling between white and black, some sort of brown. So it was and then I went and saw a farmer who had a black servant, and they seemed to get along very well. And they had a museum where they had tractors and sewing machine. And I said, we are still using them in India. This is not obsolete for us. So there are lots that I could just carry on. There's some very beautiful moments besides the shooting. And then I must say that the first day when Sooni said break a leg, if you remember, when they shot the last scene of the film with me, that was the first day's shooting. Am I right, Mira? Yes.
Yes.
Liquor store.
Yes.
And at one point the door opens and some sort of a bulb goes out, so that's a indicator for the assistant there. And a woman walks in and something happens. I don't quite remember what happens. But I remember going up and talking to the assistant. I said, you perhaps should open the door at this point or something, I told him. And he looked at me very sternly. And I said, oh God, I know I made a faux pas. I'm not quite sure what I've done, but I've done something that I shouldn't have done. Anyway, we had to give the shot. Then I told Mira, I think. So Mira says, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to talk to me. I'm the one who tells everybody what to do. You have control. So the very first day I was put in my place. And
it's just union. But there was one detail, Sharmila, that you forget, which is for me such a beautiful memory, that when you would come back from shooting in Ramada Inn, outside your door would be literally a row of 5 or 6 tiffins left in her honor by the Indian families of Greenwood. And this would happen very often, like 3 days a week. And all of us hungry desis would descend from Sharmila's room on the day that the tiffins were there. And she would very mother hen like give us all, and hum sab wo plastic plate pe jo bhi hai baith ke we would eat, the Patel foods. And for me, it's a beautiful memory of how we did it.
The women power. There were so many strong women in that unit, except for the camera crew and the production.
And Lydia Pilcher, I met on Mississippi Masala. She was the unit production manager. And now she produces everything and is a director. It's always like that,
Lady with 2 cats.
Yeah. So that was amazing, the kind of complete embrace that Sharmila received, from all manners of people who had loved her. And one more thing I just want to clarify, it wasn't that white people could get the houses that we couldn't. It was because no one of color wanted to stay separate from the community in Greenwood, Mississippi, not even Denzel. He had the right to have a mansion, as did Sharmila, but no one even he never, because it was a prickly time. I mean, racism was all around us, and there were definitely bars that we couldn't enter even, And so it was very much that time, and it was important. Anyway, even Denzel, I remember, he stayed in Ramada Inn just like us, because no one wanted to be separated from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I wanted to come to the casting of Sarita Choudhary. You discovered an actress, a star. You created a star. And Sarita was in London at that time, right? So I want to know what the story was. And Sarita, you can step in, probably talk about your auditioning or what was that experience like?
I'll just say that I saw amazing images of Sarita on a motorcycle, and wind through her hair. It was modeling for about 5 pages in some kind of really cool downtown magazine called Ace, or it's something with an A.
Face?
Base? Ace?
The Face magazine
The
or
Face.
ID? Yeah.
See, my dementia has taken off the word there. I'm still into the Ace. So, and I was struck. I was also looking. I mean, there was no, those days you don't go into tried territories. There are none. I mean, there were no opportunities for Asian actresses as such that you could see easily outside India. And I wanted somebody definitely who was east west in that sense. Anyway, I loved her look, and I loved her hair, and I loved the no makeup, the lack, what I saw as the lack of vanity. And we tracked her down, I don't know how, through my casting director Susie Figgis, who was in London. And she, then I said, find her, I want to see the girl with the hair. And she reached out to Sarita, correct, Sarita? And then
Yeah.
and then the only tidbit I have from my side was that I was waiting for this day on Dean Street in Groucho Club, where I was casting, waiting to meet this girl with the hair. And she was due at 1 o'clock. And I said, where is she? And Susie was like, no, don't worry. Listen, let me just take you to lunch. And, in 1 hour, she'll be it's okay. She'll be coming. And I wondered, how can she not come on time? Anyhow, then and then Sarita bounces in at 2:30, and I'm like, oh, I was thrilled to meet her. We had, and then Susie later told me that Mira kept saying, girl with the hair, girl with the hair. And Sarita walks in bedraggled, oily hair, nothing like this, looking like no hair. I mean, like not the hair I loved. So
No.
Susie sent her to a beauty parlor, to a shampoo zone. And she, right? Is that correct from
Yeah.
your side, Sarita?
I mean, I had put oil in my hair because I hated that my hair was so thick. And I thought I'll never get cast with thick hair. So I put oil in my hair on purpose. And Susie was so mad at me. And she said, also, you have to take the blame for being late. And I was just like, anyway. But yeah, I got it shampooed.
So she like brown still, all wild and raggedy. And that's what I loved.
Yeah.
And was she with Sarita, you were just cast right then and there, or there were some auditions you had to go through?
Audition, like I came back maybe twice or 3 times at least. Yeah. Mira's pretty rigorous. Like we read scenes from the script. I came back again. Yeah.
And then we had to do the Denzel test, right? We had to go. Did you ever meet Denzel before? I think you did, because I remember showing Denzel the face, after months after meeting you. And I remember him being very intrigued and very open. But I think then both of you he was already cast, and of course, and you, I think you met only after you were cast, if I can recall.
Yeah, you brought me to New York after I was
Yes.
cast, and he was doing Shakespeare in the Park, and we would meet for rehearsals in the afternoon.
In my office, yeah.
In your office.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was great fun. Yeah.
So much fun. I remember being impressed that he would take the train to go to the theater. And he's Denzel.
And then used to take a subway in those days.
Yeah.
He was an
Yeah.
Oscar winner by then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when the film came out, Indian guys used to accost me on the subway and say, what do you think? If you want our daughters to marry Denzel Washington, what do you think? That every guy is Denzel? They would literally tell me. And I would jump out of that train and get into the next compartment.
Sarita, tell us about working on the film, And I'm also very seriously, it's not like I'm starstruck with Denzel Washington. I mean, I'm starstruck with all of you. But, Sarita, you had just started your career. That was your first film, right? And you're thrown in a romantic state. And I just saw the film today with all the kissing and, you're in bed with Denzel Washington. For a young first-time actress, come on, it's there for everyone to see. For a first-time young actress, I'm sure Mira made things very comfortable on the set. I'm sure, of course, I know that. But how did you get that confidence also? But you're so, you have that spirit in you throughout the film, which is so lovely.
Aw, that's so sweet. So, luckily we filmed the more physical, intimate scenes at the end of the Greenwood shoot.
Last day.
Last day. So that's good because it took me a while to even learn how to be on a set. And so thank God we didn't have to do the romantic stuff. Also, Denzel has such a presence about him that I remember when I first did a scene with him, I lit up. And also Mira didn't encourage too much hanging out between me and Denzel, which was really good because it was kind of all caught on screen, that feeling. And then by the time we reached that last day, I mean, I can tell you the truth or I can tell you the version. I tell people, I don't know, because that was so, I was so nervous. And I woke up that morning and, you're still trying to do your sit-ups to try and look better because you're just like, how am I going to do this? And I looked out and I remember, and I saw Denzel doing laps in the pool. And part of my brain thought, oh, maybe he's nervous. Maybe he also, so it comforted me in an odd way. And then we showed up for the scene and it's funny, there was a tension on the set that it wasn't a bad tension, but it was like, you knew this was a big moment and everyone was being very polite to me and I was getting more nervous. And then what broke it was we were kind of perched on the corner of the bed and Mira, I think, knew oh my God. And Mira got into the bed and we were on the sides of her and she was in the middle and she just starts telling stories about Kampala. Was it Kampala or just beautiful stories. And we're laughing. And even though we slightly know what's going on, we kind of were seduced and it kind of set a tone. And it came out of that. It was kind of amazing.
There were two other things. There was Denzel had organized crawfish gumbo for the inner circle, for the crew, which was in a huge cauldron. And we were just eating crawfish gumbo in the bed also. And there was also champagne.
There was champagne. Yes, I didn't want to say that unless you said
These were two items.
Okay. We're all adults now. We're all adults now.
Only for us. And Ed Lachman was the cinematographer, and he was just, we were in two attached rooms in a Biloxi motel for the scene. And this scene was in one room with us, and the next scene, they were lighting the bed for the love scene. And we were getting, that's what happened. We were.
And there was music,
yes,
and the camera moves were so seamless that usually if someone asks you about a love scene, it's pretty broken up. But I have to say this one wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It would be one long take and then another long take.
Yeah.
And then not too many. So
it was a track, a parallel to the bed. And we had just had everyone was in a good mood, and of course secretly I was also performing, giving you stories and everything. Andar se sala ye mood, let the mood remain. Sustain the mood. God, come on, Ed, tell me you're ready. That was also full performance going on inside, and then getting you guys there into the real set. And then we just got on the camera really quietly. There was no one else there, and I just talked to you both, and I talked to Ed, and it was like you could hear,
it was almost like your voice,
and we worked with music. And
there was music, but also I would hear your voice at times, maybe just a hand move you wanted, but it was very, it's interesting because after that, I've never had that experience again. I've never had that it was like you're in, people when they see it think it's like that, but you never shoot like that. It was very beautiful in a way.
Yeah. So there's so many stories I would love to keep hearing, but I want to come back to an issue that that Sooni mentioned, and that was kind of the topic also, the race issue and migration. And it's been 30 years since Mississippi Masala was made. And Mira, you said, you were ousted a few times by Indians who said you want our daughters to marry Denzel Washington's. Where have we come in this 30 years, and how have we changed? I mean, there's the protests like Black Lives Matters. There's a lot of anger and race issues are being discussed a lot. But as the Indian community in the US, for instance, has there been some change somewhere? Sarita, you also live in the US, and even as an actress, when you work, for instance, what do you notice? And Mira, you want to step in? All of you, anyone can address this.
Sarita, please go.
Okay, I'll start.
You did all your life as a professional as well.
It's interesting because Mississippi Masala, a lot of people are asking me now how to see it. So thank God it's being re-released, because it was a little ahead of its time in the sense that when it came out, I, for example, found it very hard to get a job afterwards because no one knew what to do with someone who looked like me right then. I wasn't white, I wasn't Black. And so much has changed in America, but what you've been witnessing, we've all been witnessing lately, I feel is change is very superficial. And I think people had enough. And so now there's the real revolution happening. And a film like Mississippi Masala, in a way, literally could be put in right now and we could start again. And so that's a shame, but at least it's beginning now.
I feel the same. I mean, of course, when I was trying to get the rights back to Mississippi Masala this year and to get it back, I was also really fueled by, Kamala Harris and by that, this is the anthem I used to keep saying to people, it was like jasusi, detective rights to find out where it is anymore, to get it back. And I know that's extraordinary. Remember, Sooni, in the South, we struggled. We met a lot of people, but we struggled to find a Black man who had married a South Asian.
We found only one.
Found one couple, and that was in Texas. I think we went to another state, and they welcomed us. They allowed us into their lives, but it was very rare, and it was remarkable, really. I mean, Kamala was one way that people could they've never seen, the Black-Brown equation the way we confronted it in Mississippi Masala, and it was 30 years ago. And I would say that essentially the situation has not changed, except that Black Lives Matter and Me Too, these movements having coalesced to really create a civic uprising, a civic rising. That is what I find so inspiring, actually, being in New York and being in the country while you see literally several mostly white people go for Black Lives Matter, in the South, even in Mississippi, even, that has been the real fillip, except that in the actual translation of what I see around me, I see finally a lot more Black folk in the news, in the media, in the talent pool, in this and that and stuff. I think our time, the brown sort of voice to dialogue this and is still coming, and that awakening is still happening in front of us. It's not yet happened. People of us, we are still mired in looking at the world through compartmentalization and schisms and color and this and that. We are still we have a long way to go. And that's why I think Mississippi Masala is forever radical, because it's a mirror to that, as Sooni said. It's a mirror to us and the racism within us.
And in India, I think in 30 years, not that much has changed. We still have Fair and Lovely. We still have people having to protest the idea of Fair and Lovely. And I think it's...
Or Love Jihad.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, the movie is still very relevant 31 years later. Not unfortunately, I'm glad it is, but those issues still remain 30
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah. But what I liked about it was that the characters that Sooni you wrote, both Sharmila ji's character and Roshan Seth's character, um, they were they were several steps ahead of the rest of the Indian community. I mean, I know Roshan Seth has a line in it says that we keep to our own people. But even at the end, I remember Sharmila ji, I don't know if you want to address that, but your character almost willingly says, okay, if she's going to be happy, let her go to LA, kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? You're losing your daughter. But there was that sense I got that, these parents were not so upset about it as the other
More
So
progressive.
a couple
Gujarati
of
motel
things
owners were.
about that. One is that I did want to make them unusual in the context of people who are very different. So they're a very
Mm-hmm,
tight family unit, an
mm-hmm,
only child and parents who think
mm-hmm,
differently from their employers, that, all the other
mm-hmm,
Pontiacs and all, they're different from them. And I
mm-hmm,
also based it in a little bit of a way on my parents and my relationship with them as an only child,
mm-hmm,
and them allowing me to leave at the age
mm-hmm,
of 18 to go to America for the first time.
mm-hmm,
So it's that sense of love that they have. And I wanted to mirror that in Denzel's family. So Denzel comes from an equally loving family. And the
mm-hmm.
first time I met Denzel, he asked me, he said, I don't get it. Why is this guy, running away with this Indian woman? I mean, what is it about it? And I said, sometimes people can do things together that they can't do alone. And so that's what it is, that they find each other, but they are bound to their families by love. But finding each other enables them to get unstuck and move on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Sharmila ji, you were saying something?
No, I was just saying that, yes, perhaps we were a little different, but I am very shocked when when we find that
Yeah,
she's been in bed with somebody else.
yeah.
And the community matters so much. It's
Hmm.
not that we live alone or, our life is our own, but, the shame that you have brought on all of us,
Mm-hmm,
and which
mm-hmm,
is, like affecting the entire family and in
mm-hmm,
front of the community you're. So I
mm-hmm,
think that scene, I mean, I do lash out at her, I
hmm,
think.
When you just
mm-hmm.
said the word shame, you said
Yes,
it like you said it back then, and I felt it. The shame.
yes, yes, and, and meant to really hurt her and make her feel that
Yeah,
how she's let down all of
right,
us.
right,
And any
right.
place we have come from elsewhere and we've made a life of, new life in another place. And even here, we suddenly feel. So I think there are many layers, Suni. There's many.
Yes,
Beautiful.
And then
I
of course the
haven't seen the film for 25 years, I think.
layers, the final acceptance.
I'm with you,
Have
Sunil.
Yet, in fact, I was trying to see it on uh, YouTube, but it's not there.
Yeah.
Sort of different scenes are there a little bit, but not the entire film.
I
So
promise this will change next year.
Also,
I have the film, but I'm not because all of that has gone to Patudi because I'm still in a rented apartment.
Oh,
yeah,
So I couldn't really see it quickly, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I know that it'll be very relevant.
yeah.
And I don't know, because since you are not live, you can cut me out, but I just want to share this. Once, Mira, I was flying British Airways from London to New York, and in London, after I'd been boarded, Denzel walked in with they were shooting somewhere else, I don't know. Anyway, he went ahead. I was at the back, sitting this side, and he was in the middle section, and he went ahead and sat there, and he was looking at his iPad, and they had shot some scenes. So I was sitting at the back trying to find out what they had shot. So I was trying to see that. Then finally, I told the air hostess, I said, "May I have a piece of paper that I can write a note to him?" Would you believe there was no papers? Finally, they brought me a paper napkin. So I wrote there that I'm We worked in Mississippi Masala, whether you remember or not, and just want to say hi to you. So I think it, and then I think went to sleep, and I got up, and they brought me something to eat. So I had just put in a big slice of cheese in my mouth, and that's the time Denzel decided to walk up to
Show up.
me and sat on the aisle and initiated a conversation. I didn't know what to do. And it was so funny. And finally, but I think he gave me time because he kept on talking till I managed to. So, yeah,
The things
it
you remember.
I know, Sharmila is
was
fantastic.
very nice. It was very nice about it.
That's such a lovely story. Mira,
Yeah.
I'm curious. The Roshan Seth character, was there a resemblance to was Mahmood Mamdani sort of an inspiration
No, no.
somewhat?
No, Mahmood really was helpful in just showing us the world, really, and also inhabiting the world very intimately. We all lived, like I lived in the university. I saw what was going on. Mahmood was very
But his
porous.
passion for Uganda, the love for
But
Uganda.
Germany came from an actual Germany, right? Sooni, partly that man, lovely man we knew. I think we first met him in Mississippi, Germany, but
Yeah.
his name was Germany. And he was from Uganda, and he was a wonderful Shauqeen Admi. And that's how I remember, the actual even name and the idea of that man. From actual Germany. Am I right to remember that, Sooni? Wasn't there?
Frankly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I do know that his character is a little bit like Mahmood in the sense of, as you said, Asim, his total love for and
Uganda.
involvement with Uganda. And for him, the exile in the story is not just losing his property and, it's feeling betrayed by his friend, and feeling like that there were no barriers, but then suddenly he feels there are, and that's what brings him to the very bitter conclusion that people do stick to their own kind, thinking falsely that he has been betrayed. So I think in that sense, just the love for Uganda and his involvement, I think he does resemble
Yeah, he does.
Mahmood. Yeah.
But I meant to say that he
that-
didn't inspire Germany.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
But
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
Mahmood is not
Yeah.
sitting and suing people.
Mahmood didn't own any property.
Yeah, but you said that Mahmood had also written a book about exile,
No,
right?
no.
He had
I
written
mean,
a
the
book
whole introduction
yeah.
to Uganda for both of us was initially through Mahmood and Carrasco, his best friend who has passed away. But they are the people who took us in for 1 week, and we saw, amidst war and things that were bombed out, life as well, and that was a big, it was an eye-opener about, life in Uganda, and a lot of things informed the story, including our first kiss, which is the opening of the film, where we fell in love in Uganda, right, in that first time. And I remember and I was leaving the next day, and we had our first kiss, and there were soldiers just banged down the car, and we had to come out and on the street, and it was terrifying. And I told Suni, it sort of she found her way into making that happen in some different way with Okello. And so yeah, there were lots of things where life went in, but yeah.
That's great.
That's
Sarita, Sarita, any other memories you have you want to touch upon?
It's funny because Sharmila was mentioning Ramada Inn, and what was interesting, the film, when you see it, has such a warm vibe and very energetic, and the way we lived was like that. Like, I felt like I was at boarding school with a group of creatives, and for like Sooni, I remember just no one, everyone's title was lost very quickly. Like, I was always running off with Sooni to grab a cigarette, and then knocking on Mira's door to see if I could just have a little nap in her bed. And it was just, it wasn't like I was the actress and Sooni's the writer, Mira's the director, and Sharmila's this iconic figure from India. After a week, it was so democratic. And also, Sharmila's right. Mira's a hard worker. So when we were on set, it was no joking around. Like, we had to cover a lot and we didn't have much money. So it took me a while to really behave and realize, no, this is work. And, you can party on Friday nights, but you can't go out the other nights. Like, it was such a growing up in the industry for me that when I came out of Mississippi Masala, I really been baptized, in how to be in film. And there was never another film like that until Kama Sutra, where again, we had that community feeling. But obviously it's the way Mira works, which, a lot of films don't. It's different, but it was so great. And I felt for Denzel at some point because he was surrounded by just Indian women, which is a great thing. But
Not bad.
We're very loud. We chat. We slap. Like, it was new to him. And
Yes.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And talking about smoking, everybody smoked so much. And I really got tempted because I had given up smoking years ago. But how much they smoked, all of them. And I said, oh God, it looks so sexy. It looks so attractive. Let me try, once. When the whole room swam, I said, no, maybe I shouldn't. So I sort of retired gracefully.
Yeah.
But how
There
much?
was plenty of entertainment with Ranjit.
Oh
Yes.
my God. Ranjit used to make us laugh so much. I actually found it hard to do scenes with him because I couldn't really look at his face. So I would always look a little to the side. And it was a bit, he was so great, so funny.
It's sad. And Mohan Gokhale has been gone for a long time, actually.
He was the first.
Yeah.
One time there was this hiatus between shooting in Mississippi, and the two Mohans went on a train trip. And next thing I know, I get a phone call from Gokhale, Agashe, saying that Gokhale has had a fit and he's cut off half his mustache. Continuity mustache. There's just like 7 days we are meeting to shoot. Ye kya hoga? So it really had happened. So I don't know what the solution was. I think that we had to delay his scenes until it grew back, or take out the other half. Something we did. I can't remember. I'll have to see the film to remember. But that was the first time I had sort of a flash into the nuttiness, of our beloved Pontiac.
What a lovely name. What a lovely name you guys gave him.
Great name.
Those were all real names. Pontiac, Napkin.
Real name means what? I mean, you met characters who are named.
Yeah.
We met people who are named that.
Yeah. I mean, Ugandan Asians' names are fantastic, like Amir Fancy, Pontiac, very fantastic names.
Descriptive.
Extremely,
Well, guys, this has been really fantastic. Really, I mean, I could go on continuing talking, and we have a 1 hour of this really priceless conversation, which everyone's going to watch. Mina had to leave; there was some emergency, but she thanked you all. I'm so excited that I was able to do this. I mean, I've done enough conversation with Mira, but the fact that to get Sooni also and Sharmila ji and Sarita, all of us together, and the fact that I saw the film today, it's all so alive, the whole conversation. So thank you. And Sharmila ji, I wanted to tell you, by the way, so the film is showing as part of the iView Festival. So it'll be streaming, so you can watch it. But I'll have Mina or somebody get in touch with you to tell you how you can watch it, and other films also.
And me too.
You're
Yeah.
in India, so
Yeah.
people in
And
India can, I think.
can I just say one thing, which is just to tell everyone formally that Mississippi Masala is going to be re-released next year, and it is going to be remastered in a matter of weeks with the great Edward Lackman, our cinematographer, who's
Wow.
really a legend now, who's going to sit in for a few weeks and remaster frame by frame of Mississippi Masala, which I'm really thrilled about, for the Criterion Collection. And
Wow.
and it will come out. They intend to release it theatrically. I hope, like in Cannes as a classic or Venice as a classic, and then we all will be, inshallah, together again.
Oh my God.
And we must, because we are alive, and and it is as necessary today as it was then, and as Sarita says, maybe was ahead of its time at that time.
Yeah.
But so this is the intention, guys. It's really real, and I'm very happy because visually, orally, musically, script, everything. It's a piece of work that lasts, and now it'll be seen again in not some beat up way, but in a beautiful, resplendent.
Yeah.
So thank you for being the free runner.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
Thank
next
you.
year we will be.
All of you, Mira, look after that shoulder.
I will.
Be
Thanks.
good. And Sarita, lots of love, big hugs.
You
So
too,
nice.
darling.
You haven't changed at all.
Oh,
Sharmila, you should see her daughter. She's like between Monica Vitti and Sarita Choudhary.
Oh,
Extraordinary, beautiful girl, and a beautiful child artist. And
thank you, darling.
Yeah.
Sharmila, I didn't know how funny you were. Every story you told today, so funny.
What about those Sunday morning? I used to be glued to the TV. Sunday morning preachers.
Yeah.
There's a sect called Hinduism. I remember they had no. And when I used to read the paper, the local paper, and of course I used to get my paper from New York because you couldn't. There was no New York paper, and my green chilies because I was, I had to have them. And when they talked about Asian, I used to get excited. I thought, India would be mentioned, but of course it was all about Japanese, and so Asian. And it was a different. It was such a wonderful experience, Mira. It really stayed with me.
It really was.
Small town in America, which is so cut off from the world, and have their own sort of morality or what have you. And we felt so much better traveled and better.
Of course we were.
Yeah.
And I'll never eat catfish again, probably, because that was all we got. If you weren't in barbecue, steak and all, the only thing was catfish. And I don't think I've eaten catfish for 30 years now.
That area, it was like almost like India, I remember seeing a lady with something on her eye because she couldn't see. So there was encephalitis. No, sorry, not meningitis. I mean, you read the papers. There was everything there, and so it was. So
all the diseases were in Jackson.
Like India.
Except for the jacarandas.
Oh yeah, gorgeous.
Jacarandas were beautiful.
Oh yeah.
You learn a lot about America by living there.
Not jacaranda, magnolia, right?
The magnolias. Oh, I thought you meant the jacarandas in Kampala.
Yeah,
they were amazing.
Magnolias were beautiful.
Magnolias.
Yes. That you can't have. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Great to see each one.
See you in Cannes, ladies.
Yes, clearly.
What'd you say?
See you in Cannes when
Cannes.
Mississippi Masala comes out next year.
Really?
Bye, guys.
Without wheelchairs.
Bye, Asim.
Thank you.
Bye, Sharmila. Bye, Mira.
Bye, Sharmila. Bye, Sarita.
Bye,
Bye,
Sharmila.
Asim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank